Welcome back to the Business Simple podcast. We have our first ever repeat guest back on the show, Matt Horncastle. We're coming in for a little bit of a check-in, see how things are going, see what's happening for 25.
Well, I loved it here last time, and you and me are always hanging out, and we had you on our podcast. So and also we can use this for a gazillion social media videos. So we're hitting a lot of birds with one stone, and I couldn't think of a better thing to do in my afternoon than to talk with you.
Yeah, just chat.
So do we? What topics? We don't script this, by the way. This is really us. What topics do you want to hit? I don't think we do personal branding or marketing because we've already smashed that.
Yeah, we like talking about that.
I really want to do politics, but probably don't want to end up on stuff tomorrow. We do business.
Why don't you go through? I know we've been meaning to take some time to go over where Williams Corporation's currently at from a joint venture perspective, flywheel and that you've kind of spoken about. That'd probably be a really good starting point.
Cool. And I really like, because in our friends group, I tell everyone my thinking about what I'm going to do, how I'm going to achieve it. And I like that I told you once, one day later, you're already developing your own flywheel. So that is cool. It's really cool. So I can see that added value to you. So hopefully we can add some value to the listeners.
Yep.
I'm going to go on a tangent like I always do, but it's going to come around and make sense. Williams Corporation, as the market knows, is a really good residential property developer. And we went through our journey, we went through our startup phase. And as we went through the startup phase, it took us years and years and years to find our product that we could make a margin from and build at scale. And that was infill residential townhouses in Christchurch, which then developed into Auckland, Wellington, Tauranga, Brisbane, all through Australia we were trying. We found that product and we just cranked, right? Now, one thing I probably did wrong in hindsight, I just kept doubling down without probably analysing how big we were, how much exposure we were taking on. So at the peak of the market, Williams Corporation had a work in progress of 1,300 houses with an end realised value in excess of $1 billion, and the market obviously collapsed depending on what reports you read, anywhere from sort of 12% to 20% in certain areas, or actually anywhere from no percent to 20% depending on what suburb you're trading in. And that was a painful time for the business because we had to reduce staffing, we had to exit projects, we had to shuffle everything around. It was a very operationally intensive time because our position was so large. And so I sort of came out of that and I said, well, finding a product and taking it to infinity, I don't believe is all of the answer, especially with property, because you have asset volatility, market volatility, you have compliance risk, you have all sorts of things, financing risk, all these things that can get you. And especially once your team goes out of your core team and you're bringing in essentially outsiders making large financial decisions around purchasing land, decisions around consenting, decisions around construction that haven't come with you on the journey, haven't learned the lessons, haven't got the scar tissue. You have issues. So we said, well, what is Williams Corporation's core? When have we been the most effective? What number can our team of trusted people nail? And we've decided that that's somewhere in the vicinity of 250 to 500 houses a year. So 1 to 2 projects per month, either a block of 40 or 2 blocks of 20, across the areas where we've traded and have a reputation, have a really good market understanding. So Christchurch, Auckland, Wellington. And if that's our base, what do we do from here? And we were building and selling 20 houses a month when I was in my mid-20s. Mm-hmm. So it's not very exciting in my 30s to set the same goal that I've already achieved at a much younger time in my career. And so then we're like, well, one of the key things is actually capturing more of the value chain. Mm-hmm. And so we started doing that first with Greg Munt, who sold a successful financial services company. He introduced a co-ownership component to our business, owned with Williams. So that's essentially where we invest alongside the purchaser. We take a share in the capital gains, we put a share of the capital in, and that brings in new customers that wouldn't have been able to purchase, allows us to sell a house that we wouldn't have sold without that structure, and gives us a bite of the cherry in the future because we get a percentage of the capital gain. And that was the first time we're like, oh, we brought in new talent, we brought in new ideas and expertise.
Just on that Own with Williams thing, because I know you're going to run real hot off the back of this. So let's say someone puts in their 85%, you put in 15%. That property increases by $10,000.
Yeah.
Your $1,500 of that capital gain their $8,500. Like it's just completely shared ownership.
No, so that we need a ratchet, this will adjust with time.
Yeah.
Okay. So by time you're watching this podcast, it might not even be the deal. The deal we're doing is on the verge of not being commercial, but what we're trying to do is get deals through the marketplace and just get these structures accepted by the banks and understood. So version 1 is Williams Corporation will invest up to 20%. So it's normally 15 to 20%. And then on that basis, so the customer's putting anywhere from sort of 0 to 5% of true cash in the transaction. The bank is putting in the balance, so the bank's putting in the 80%. Now, the person owns the house, they live in it, they rent it out, they do whatever they want, and they're responsible for that home. So they get the income or they get the benefit of living in it. They pay the rates, the mortgage, etc. of their house. We don't charge no interest, no fees, so no costs, but we take 50% of the capital gain. And essentially, so what we're saying to people is we're saying you would not have been able to purchase that home without us.
Yeah.
So half of something is better than all of nothing.
Yeah.
Right? There has to be a disproportionate ratchet. The other way you could do it is charge a market return on that money and only take the amount you invested in. But the thing we found with these people, the market return on the money tips them over the line in the serviceability calculations of not being able to do the transaction.
Yeah.
So we wanted to charge no money, but then we had to get a bigger ratchet on the other side to justify parking the capital.
Got it. Someone asked me about it today and I was like, I don't know the answer to that. And so when you brought that up, it just actually came up. But that makes complete sense because it's interest-free cash towards the deposit. Like you're essentially saying, hey, I'll pay 15% of your deposit in cash. I want half of the capital gain. But then at a point that they'd buy you out of that 15%, they'd take 100% of the capital gain from there. Correct. And they had 50% up until that point.
And they wouldn't have been able to do the transaction without the capital.
Yeah.
And if we have a stagnant market, they don't pay anything. So we only win when the house wins and the customer wins.
And also, so there's no capital gain, you don't get paid anything. No. You just but then also the other thing as well is knowing what I've done with investors in the past doing property transactions, when they put the cash up, they want all of everything.
Yeah.
So they want the profit out of the deal, they want this, they want to be paid interest along the way, they want all of it. So to just have one stake rather than all of it probably is very customer friendly.
And the stake is when everyone wins. So the customer is winning when we take that stake. So that's really positive. It's a great business. Greg Munt, intelligent, decent, competent, hardworking. He is a really special human being. So what I was probably one thing I learnt when I was younger and I was building all these businesses, I learnt that I don't have the capacity to do lots of things and do them well. So I have the capacity to run Williams Corporation from a figurehead perspective. I have the capacity to run my sales team. Blair runs the construction team. Yeah. Buy and sell land and do transactions of 500 houses a year, 250 to 500. We can do that easy. I can do that with my eyes closed. But I didn't want to spread myself thin where I'm taking all these positions and developing all these businesses, and that's where Greg Monk coming in as a JV and doing pretty much everything was just amazing. And a light bulb went off, and I was like, I can secure better talent than what I have had access to. I could achieve two things. I could secure better talent than what I would be able to get without giving equity, or I can reward my long-serving generals with equity and a side quest. So then we went through the business and we said, these are our requirements. It has to be within the industry we understand, and it has to create profitability or activity or customers or referrals for another business within the empire. Mm-hmm. So then Owen with Williams creates sales for Williams Corporation, and then we go to Airhome. So Airhome is our prefabricated housing department. Well, they're being built by Williams Corporation, but every single person who inquires to look at a prefabricated house owns a block of land, owns housing, because by the nature of it. So this is now someone that has capital to invest, has property, so we can discuss things like our funds and our investment properties with them, as well as selling them one of our prefabricated homes. If you go, and the Airhome JV was done with Taylor Green, who's a really intelligent, he built a prefabricated housing company down in Dunedin, great job. When you go on our Airhome website, it's done really well. Attractive, well presented, well marketed, well shown to the market. So that's cool. Then we flow through to Managed by Williams. So Managed by Williams is our property management company that was ran by Ben Cloak, one of our long-serving generals in the company. And then we've gone through our different offices and we've brought in JV partners. So a guy I went to school with was running a small property management company in Queenstown. We brought him in as our Queenstown partner. We've got one of our managers, David and Sam, they're running it in Wellington. And then we're just negotiating final steps of a really, really good JV partner who's going to run it in Auckland, whose name I'll show you. Where can that camera see? No. I'll show you that top person.
Ah.
Yeah. Cool, right?
Okay.
So we're starting to secure talent that we wouldn't have been able to secure. But then the property management, if you're a property manager, you're now a property investor. Mm-hmm. So all those people we're talking to, we can present our funds. And there's actually one other component to it, which is quite often property managers will lose the plot. They won't do inspections. They'll just vanish for whatever reason. And the customer, if we've sold them a house, doesn't get the outcome we want. Yeah. So part of that's actually protecting our customer from the marketplace.
Can I read you an email?
Yeah.
This is topical. This is from, we're obviously building and we've got a house under construction with you. Currently we're renting. And this is an email that we received yesterday from our property manager. This will make you laugh. It's worth the
wait to find it.
Yeah, which of course it's not popping up super easily.
No, look, property managers are interesting because a good one's worth their weight in gold, but then even a good one can lose the plot sometimes. And if you don't have your property, and a lot of them just, it appears that it's so much easier for them to under rent it and just cross it off their to-do list. So very rarely do they chase getting the best possible return for the investor.
Yeah, this is real good. I've got it. All right. Dear James Jenner, RE renewal of tenancy at address. As you're probably aware, your current fixed term tenancy is due to expire on 18/03/2025. Brackets. Delete the ones that you don't require. Close bracket. The landlord has instructed us to offer you a further agreement for X months. I'm not, like, X is the actual word in the email.
Filled out the...
Yeah. Under the same terms and conditions set down in your existing tenancy agreement, including the requirement, blah, blah, blah. The expiry date will be bracket, insert date, close bracket. Next point, bracket, delete if not applicable, close bracket. However, market rental values for properties such as the property you're currently tenanting have increased since your tenancy started. To bring the property up to current market value, the weekly rental will be increasing to $ bracket, insert amount, close bracket, taking effect from bracket, insert date, close bracket. There's 5 points. I'm not going to read them all out, but it continues to go.
And you have to hold every single piece of your body not to name and shame the company, which we won't out of taste.
I would never.
We don't want to evict you.
No, I would never. But then they called my fiance today to talk to them about whether she wanted to increase the rent or not, thinking she was the landlord. So this person is really battling. And all I could think about it is we've obviously got this property that is currently, I was on site at 5 this morning with Blair, watching what you guys are doing at Manchester Square, which is fucking awesome. Also, how cool is construction when you look at it and like you see, anyway, that's a whole, but the fear that I would have being a landlord, giving up, say, it might be 10% of your rental income per annum. So you're talking like thousands and thousands of dollars a year for someone to take no care in how they would then actually look after your house, like have no consideration for, they represent you in that transaction. And when they let you down, it affects your tenancies, it affects your income. Like that's for some people how they eat. And we, prior to this, had a little bit of a bad taste in our mouth with the past landlord that Jen wouldn't move because she's sort of nested with the baby.
Yeah.
Now I'm like, let's go get something sick. Like, we probably got 6 more months of renting before we just live in a house we own for the rest of our lives. She's like, no, I'm happy here, blah, blah, blah. Now she's like shaky.
Yeah,
she's open to looking at other options because of how bad of a job the property manager's doing. If that property sits on the market for 4 weeks while it's changing over, that costs the landlord like $3,500.
Yeah, I agree. And what does it cost? The property managers employed anyway cost nothing to care, right? And that's one thing and I'm not saying we don't make mistakes, right? I have done a lot of dumb stuff in my life. I've had staff do lots of dumb stuff. Lots of dumb stuff has happened around me. I'm by no means on a pedestal. But what you do have in Williams Corporation is some people that are excellent, some people, that coming out wrong. We have a top tier of talent that is unbelievable, right? The senior management team. But then you have this transparency where we can see what everyone's doing, and you can actually go over and say, hey, that call wasn't good enough, that process wasn't good enough, that email wasn't good enough. And I'm just adamant we're going to do this at a significantly higher standard than market. And I talk to you about it all the time with all the extra things we're going to do. Like, without going on a tangent, just small things like, let's say we're managing a short-term accommodation property, we're going to have a picture on the wall that says, would you like to buy an investment property like this one? Scan here. If they scan there and we sell that person a house, we're going to pay a $2,000 commission to the owner of the property, and that QR code is linked back to that owner via a referral system, and we can send them monthly reports of how many people scanned that code and what status they are in our CRM. So just going through and just providing as much value as possible. Like, let's look at like the property you're purchasing. On average, you're going to have two bookings through that a week, average of 2 people per booking. So, or let's say it's 1.5, but I can't do the maths fast enough. Let's just say 2. So that's now 4 people a week, 52 weeks in the year. That's 200 people going through that property. Let's just take a margin off and say it's 150. What's the chance we're going to sell one of them a house?
Yeah.
Reasonable.
Especially if the house is cool.
Yeah. Right? So now all of a sudden, of those 150 people that you're letting us advertise to, let's say we can sell one of them a property every year, you get an extra $2,000. Now, as a percentage of your return's now just gone up 7% or whatever the number is.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
And I think it's just something that isn't... it just doesn't exist currently. It makes so much sense.
I literally just sit there. I said to the team, I said, our property management mantra, core value, everything we do, it is making money for the property owner and keeping the property at the highest possible standard.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and some people might not like that. They might talk about other things that are valuable to them. But for me, if I'm trusting someone to manage my property, I want to know that they wake up and focus on 2 things. Get me a great return, keep the property at a high standard.
Yeah.
And everything else happens by default. But that's your core value.
Yeah, cool. And so what, like, because obviously we mentioned, and I might touch on some of mine really quickly, but post Greg, was it just that access to capable talent? Is that what sparked this JV thing? What was it?
Yeah, I think it was, firstly, it was a capacity thing. So we have capacity within the team because we are currently doing work that's less than the volume that we used to. Mm-hmm. So we carry less staff than we used to, less volume of work than we used to. Like, senior management has capacity to nail additional tasks. And then realizing the quality of human beings that we could obtain with an equity model, I really liked.
Yeah.
And also the rewarding of the generals thing.
Yeah.
People have been with us for a long time, made the company a lot of money, stuck with us through hard markets and good markets. I liked the concept of giving them equity in something.
Yeah, and because this is the thing that, like, you probably have the same thing to me, is I'm overcommitted with Digital Simple, and I can't really just chop a piece of that off and hand it to you. But if you want, like, I also don't have capacity to go out and build something from scratch. So if you want to build something and you want to attach it to Digital Simple overarchingly, meet.
And it's new pie.
Yeah.
It's new pie that doesn't currently exist.
Yeah, and my rule is similar to yours, because
Go
for it. My rule is similar to yours.
Podcast drinking, so what could possibly go wrong?
We're over 40 episodes into Business Simple. I've never had a drink while doing it, so it seems appropriate that I should join you.
Cheers.
I also haven't really been drinking much, but
yeah.
Hey. So for me, and so I took a couple of things from when you kind of mentioned yours and how it worked. The first one was you have to use your skill set.
Yes.
So, like, you can't, and I had a meeting even today with someone that really wants me to get involved with, like, this supplement thing that they've got going on. And I'm like, it's on the cusp of using my skill set. Because even though I'm only in there from a marketing and digital presence perspective, which is my skill set, it's not a marketing business. And so I don't actually understand how to monetize supplements. I don't get how to leverage supplements. I don't get that in the same way as I get how to, my work with Agentary, for example, Sam and Graham. I'm biased, obviously, but I think they're the two strongest forces in real estate videography in Christchurch. And their client share aligns with that. They have the majority of the big real estate agents in Christchurch are on their books.
Yeah.
And the quality of their work that they do is noticeably higher than the majority of the market, right?
Yeah, you showed me that video at my place. It was cool. It was cool.
And so what I looked at with that is I was like, here's two people that are killers, they're driven, they're really onto it, but they're limited in this. They can only do so many videos. They're going to have a lot of challenges as they start trying to hire videographers to do the videos, because they're not going to be them. They're going to go through all the stuff that I've already been through. So if I go and help them, guide them through that, plus I help them bolt on an advertising product to their video offering, which no company exists currently, where an agent can turn up and go, I want you to shoot my photos, shoot my video, advertise it on social media. I also want you to help me get some more listings. I want you to do all this stuff. And they can just go, yes, sure, that would be great.
Productise the offering.
Yeah. So they can just turn up, they can fill in one form. That seems really cool. And I don't have to do a heap of the heavy lifting. I just need to build the advertising product, train some people how to deliver it, and open a couple of doors to them with some people that I know that are like the last of these big agents that they don't have. And it's a massive win for everyone. I don't want to own all of that company. I just want a little bit of it for doing all that stuff. And they're like, that would be way better out the other side. So that seems fair, and you just go. Whereas our AI offering, which I don't know when this podcast will be released, so I'm going to keep the name and logo and all that kind of stuff. I'll show you it after this, but that's very different. That's a larger shareholding, and essentially the other company just owns a piece for the sake of doing the development of it, but it's all guided on my end. So like the product, that kind of thing is by me. But that's, once again, it's using marketing. It's a marketing business. It just makes sense, and it gives you running mates, which is cool too. It gives you people in the trenches with you that are, they get it. Whatever you're going through, they're there as well.
Yeah, which is cool. That matters. Having people that you like spending time with matters. Yeah, and because and then we're about to launch real estate.
That's right.
Traditional real estate. So, no, not traditional yet. Step one is going to be helping our customers resell product. And then step two will enter the traditional real estate model once we've got everything down packed.
Yeah.
So everything is within our industry. It makes a lot of sense for us to have it. And I hope I haven't forgotten about one of my JV partners. I think that's about it.
No, WW is not a JV. That's your the only thing you could.
Yeah, just our boat. No, and it's really cool, really cool, and it's made Williams Corporation stronger. The cross selling's cool. Like I love it when I open up the group chat and I see like someone signed an air home and a funds deal, and then you sign them up for property management, and you sign them up on the other property management. There's other units. The reason that my brain was thinking we do more stuff than that is because we do things that aren't JVs. So we do things like the boat, we have the funds company. That's about it.
Those would be the main two. The
Main
boats
thing.
become big though, out of nowhere.
It's cool, eh? It's so cool. Yeah.
Well, I can't, and I'm really excited. I've got some stuff I'm working away with Ben around how we push this Champagne Cruises thing, but I just couldn't believe what happened in terms of like it got certified for charter and then just went mental.
Yeah, and the crew are doing a great job.
Yeah.
Like everyone that goes on it just raves about it. When I was there over Christmas, it was just over the Christmas break. It was so cool, so cool.
If you haven't done something like that, if you haven't been out on a boat like that for the day or whatever, it's such a cool experience.
Yeah. And if you have the means for the night, like when you wake up the next day and it's dead calm and you sit on the back with your coffee and there's the water and the birds and whatever island or land mass you're by, it's just stunning. Like really, really special.
Do you think you'll ever like take it anywhere outside of New Zealand?
Yeah. We've been focusing on, I've been really focused on my image presented to the marketplace as the intelligent, diligent manager. Now, we just come out, I reckon we're just coming out now, the end of that being less important, and I'll be able to do more fun stuff and be able to be the intelligent, diligent manager, but also owns a big company and has wealth and can do cool things on the side.
Yeah.
So as we enter in, I think we're probably 9 months away from Williams Corporation's sales and market position being so undeniable that it's appropriate for me to do some cool stuff, and that's fine. Yeah.
And so talk me through, I mean, that might be something that's interesting, because I know that a lot of the people listening to this won't know, well, obviously they won't know you the way that I know you, but also they will know, like Matthew, that came into a heap of success really early on, was very unapologetically himself, which is something that I really like. But obviously there's a portion of the market that didn't. And then what that journey's been like in terms of kind of, as the market's retracted, you have to be a responsible director. You look after a lot of people's money. You've treated that money with an enormous amount of respect over the years. You had to showcase that. Like, what is that experience like? Because when you started going through that process, you would have been about my age now, like late 20s.
Yeah, I think, I'm kind of not even sure if I want to say the numbers. We were having revenue. We were having 9-figure revenue with very respectable margins when I was like 25.
Yeah.
So it's like absurdity. And I don't think there's any 25-year-old that has the emotional ability to deal with that without rubbing a few people up the wrong way. So when I first came into that level of wealth, I was always unapologetically myself, and I always believed I was a good person. But also you have certain displays of wealth that I can see why it rubs people up the wrong way. Like driving around in a white Rolls Royce with a gold watch doing whatever you want in your 20s. Just absurd rapper stuff, right? It was really cool. Like it was really cool to have that experience where you can essentially do what you want. But then as the market changed, the most important thing was to maintain the Williams Corporation capital lines, whether that be money in our fund or whether that be the external capital lines. And the way to maintain that capital to build the houses and maintain the business was to show the market, show the investors that the most important thing was doing the work, not the spoils of the work. And just making it really clear to everyone that our capital is on the line first. We're happy to convert heaps of personal luxuries into cash and leave that cash in the business to make sure that first loss capital in the group is higher. And then our money's on the line first, and we do this because we enjoy doing the work, not necessarily doing it for the spoils of war. We're not doing it for the cars or the boat or the plane. We're doing it because we really like doing this, and this is how I like spending my days, and this is how I want to spend my life. And in the beginning, people thought you're going broke, which is a reasonable assumption, and then they're suspicious. They're like, is this some ruse? And then after a while, they're like, oh, okay, no, that makes sense. He just likes being a builder. He likes Williams Corporation. He likes his stuff, and all the other stuff is inconsequential.
And I think that's probably one of the things that me and you both view the same way, is that like we don't do this for money. And I don't think that you could put yourself through, I mean, you've been through harder stuff than me, undoubtedly, but...
No, but everything's relative.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
On paper, but we've both been through extreme challenges, right? Yeah. And I don't think any logical person that didn't have this weird internal pursuit of doing something extraordinary would actually bother. Like, and this is the thing that I see, like, people will start an agency, and like, I had a good friend, they're actually sort of my kind of age. She built, like, she was probably not quite as fast as us, but she was like doing some real cool shit, signing some real cool clients, had a little team going. She just pulled back, went back to just doing like marketing strategy stuff and just for herself. And I was like, I fucking get it. Like I completely understand why you would do that. And I couldn't, but I completely understand.
But you don't.
Yeah.
You do, but you don't. You joke about tapping out. You think about it, but there is no part of me that could.
Nah.
There's no part.
Nah. And I think that's probably like, that is the thing that we just both understand, that you hear people go like, oh, I love being an entrepreneur. Like, it gives me all this free time. You're like, what fucking entrepreneur? What? Yeah. Like, hold on. What? Like, oh, how good's being self-employed? You pick your own hours. I'm like, pick?
Yeah,
like,
really.
Yeah.
But also, when someone says that, they're just not.
Yeah.
They can't
different.
be. They can't be. Else I'm really dumb and I've done this wrong somehow.
I think that it's just like, I think it's a different strokes for different folks thing. Like, I think it just comes down to that. I think that there is and it sounds like purgatory to me, but there is a business that runs that you don't have to work that hard for, that provides you with a moderate income, probably comparable to being self-employed, that has slightly higher strain but slightly lower time commitments.
The problem I have with that, because I agree, and I think about this all the time, but part of me thinks like, don't you just have such a huge risk of being eaten by someone else that would just terrify you?
Yeah.
Because at least I know I'm super confident with my market position, because I'm just happy to work all the time.
Yeah.
And it's very hard to find someone that's willing to do the things that I'm willing to do, which gives me this little fort that it's defendable. But I would just, if I was putting in a moderate amount of work, I would be terrified that at any moment someone could come and take my pie.
Yeah, I think they probably are, but I don't think the terror outweighs their desire to not work.
Which makes sense.
Yeah, and I think that some people just don't want to work, whereas it's all I want to do.
Yeah.
Like I had this conversation with Jen the other day where we're like talking about what our purpose is, and like, because we're trying to communicate, we've got this child and we've got these things we're trying to navigate, and she's like, my purpose is to be a mum and to have a big family. And
Which is cool.
I fucking love that shit. Because
cool.
It's just not... The funny thing about it is she's probably one of the most capable females I've ever come across. Like, she came in and worked here and made a job that other people find challenging look fucking easy in 20 hours a week. Like, she's super capable. And she's like, because of that, I think it gives her the freedom to be like, I want to be a mum. Like, she doesn't have a chip over it. I just want to be a mum. Whereas for me, I'm like, my purpose is to build.
Yeah.
It's not to make money. It's not to. My purpose is to build. It's to like perilously chase the next step. Inevitably, it's climb a staircase that doesn't end. Like that is what I want to do forever.
You imagine how horrible retirement would be.
Yeah.
Because when we catch up, literally when me and him are by ourselves, sounds pretty similar to this podcast. Pretty similar.
There's not much difference.
Like, it's tiny nuance difference in how you talk to a buddy versus something that's going to be publicly shared with the entire internet, but not much different. Yeah. Only a tiny bit different. Yeah. So, that's imagine a retirement. I couldn't think of anything. You couldn't pay me.
Yeah.
If you were to say, Matthew, I'm going to triple what you earn, but you can't work, I couldn't. It'd be awful. Yeah. I would be my own worst enemy. I would actually do damage to myself, I think.
Yeah, I think.
Because you'd seek the next thrill, and it's so easy to get the next thrill from something that's actually terrible for you, as opposed to getting that dopamine release from achieving something at work is cool. And I wake up and I see that, and this probably isn't healthy. I see it on my ring. I wake up stressed, and the closer I get to the office, the calmer I get, and I go through I can have to do some really hard things at work, right? Like really, I normally use the example of firing someone or something like that, but the actual example is really hard, complex financial things that need to be executed. And with the point when I'm doing the hardest thing is the point where I'm calmest.
Yeah.
Right? And it's just, but it doesn't feel calm, but it is calm. And I can see it on my body's vitals.
Yeah.
The harder the task, the more calm my body is.
Yeah. And then like the less applied you need to be to something, the more uncomfortable you are.
I go home and I get stressed.
Yeah.
Right? Not because my home's stressful. My home's lovely. I got people that care about me, and like my outside of work life is really cool. But like, it's not. My body, my vitals, my being calms during productive endeavours, and I do think people need to accept people are. Be subburdened. We need to do stuff. We need to feel we're achieving stuff.
Yeah.
You only need to watch one of those housewife shows. Again, and I'm not even sure if my point isn't, because I think motherhood is awesome, and I hope my partner would want to be a mother and do it really well. But there's something about that being not having the productive output that can bring out the worst in people.
And I think that's just that difference between like being a mother because it's your purpose versus being a mother because it's glamorous to not work, and
because
then you
don't want
filling
to do
your
stuff.
days. Yeah, filling your days with fucking drinking. Like those shows are real typical, like drinking champagne and talking shit about people is your purpose.
That's the
and
piece
it's like,
I was trying to articulate.
Yeah.
Just where it's just it's not healthy for anyone involved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So disclaimer for stuff. That was not the comment.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
And it's let them come. They haven't written an article about me in a while.
I
It'd be
was talking to
humorous.
someone, and they brought up your personal brand today, actually, and they were like, it appears that something's like things are moving there, and I was like, we're not going to talk about personal brand, by the way, because it's lowest hanging fruit. We always do it, but I was like, he hasn't been on the front page of Stuff for about 18 months,
Which is boring. Listen, here's stuff. Here's your next quote. No, actually, and do you know what as well? I believe rightly so. This chair is tick, but we're going to make it. Well, Jesus Christ. Rightly so, there was suspicion about me, and so it was more reasonable to assume that I was full of shit than the real deal.
Yeah.
Like, that was a more reasonable assumption, because Williams Corp is absurd. The size of the business, the size of the numbers. And so I actually sympathise with the assumption that we were full of shit, and I get the suspicion. But year by year, day by day, they're like, oh, Williams Corp paid their bills this month early. Oh, Williams Corp met all of their redemptions. Oh, Williams Corp paid their December dividend early. Oh, Williams Corp just sold. By the way, you heard it here first. We sold over 55 houses in January. Right? Like, oh, Williams Corp settled a big development. January in Williams Corporation, we sold, I can't remember if the final number was 55 or 58, and I should know it, but there was 3 question marks that we were auditing. But over 55 houses. We sent settlement notice on a block of 22 houses in Auckland, and we bought another development for 45 houses. So, like, we do the business every single month, right? The investor dividends paid. Everything's all sorted. And so we got to a point where people were like, actually, okay, they are who they say they are. We're not going to come. Before that, it was like, we kind of think he's a fraud, so let's just have a crack at everything. We're actually now, I think, a journalist would give us the benefit of the doubt on an issue, because we've proved we are who we say we are for a long period of time.
The other thing, because I completely agree with that, and I think that it's also quite almost like a noble way to view it, where it would actually be easier just to be like, fuck everyone for not believing me, that would suit your ego better. So to put yourself in their perspective and to understand that, and like, it shows a level of emotional intelligence that you probably aren't known for. Like, I think
27-year-old Matthew didn't have that.
But also, how can, and this is what you touched on before, is like, how could anyone expect you to? And then like people would always turn around, and I spoke in the last episode I did, and this is a big thing that I remind myself all the time, is there is no nobility that comes from a lack of ability. So anyone that looks at someone who goes like, if I had a business that big, I would never do that. It doesn't matter what you think about that, because you don't have a business that big, and you won't, because the level of difficulty and challenge you would have to go through to get to that point, you will never push yourself through, so you'll never experience that. So your comment, your like moral high ground that you're taking on this subject is completely invalid. And so you like, and to a point, you have to be like, oh, I wouldn't drive that car daily because I wouldn't want people to think I'm a dick. You won't. So don't worry about it. People won't think you're a dick because you don't have that problem. So it's just like, it's just that kind of, and I like to sit on the other side as much as I can as well, and I appreciate that. But like, how are we supposed to do this shit? This is the thing that, like, I had someone the other day go at me about something, and they would have been like in their mid-50s, and the way that they were speaking to me was like I was 45 and had been doing this for 25 years, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, kind of thinking, you know, like 3 or 4 years ago, I had like 2 staff, and, you know, like, sure, I've got 25 now, but that doesn't mean that I'm an HR specialist. And you've been in recruitment or whatever for like 30 years, so you should know a thing or two more than me. And like the pressure from that 50 to 65 age range on young people that are real hungry and getting after it to know everything about everything all the time is real absurd. It's like I don't know what your thoughts are on it, but I almost wrote a LinkedIn post about it, and then I decided that it was too whiny and it didn't suit how I like to view myself. But I was like, it's really strange, the concept of having a go at someone and consciously trying to hurt someone over something that they have no right knowing anyway. No 28-year-old should know the answer to the question.
Can you give more information about what it was?
It was like an employment agreement that an HR consultant had told me the way that it was structured was legitimate, and this person was saying that it wasn't legitimate. And their legal advice was obviously representing them, and my HR consultant was representing me. And the way they spoke to me was like, I know how big your agency is. I know you know what you're doing. And I was like, what makes you say that? Like,
and also I got professional advice, and this is what my advisors told me.
Yeah. So, but it's like it was more that like the trying to,
and the tone. It sounds like the tone got you, not the words.
Yeah.
See, very, very rarely is someone talking to you about you.
Yeah.
Right? They're talking to themselves about themselves. It is very hard to get to the point where you can objectively listen, observe, and try and give guidance or an opinion, truly trying to help that person.
Yeah.
Because most people, they want to escalate their ego or escalate themselves, so they want to put someone else down. And then as you get more and more successful, someone's desire to chip you, hurt you, attack you increases.
Yeah.
So when someone's talking to you like that, you just think, you're not talking to me, you're talking to yourself.
Yeah.
Because why do they care if the nuance? Because I know exactly the kind of issue you're talking about, because contract law is actually quite complex, especially, but also I bet you they'll be wrong, because the right to contract has opened up a heap of that stuff.
Yeah.
So a lot of the previous legislation, even a contractor, you had to guarantee a minimum wage, and now there's a right. I'm pretty sure this current government introduced a right to contract legislation, which made it more flexible, because people like Uber couldn't make it work.
Yeah, right.
So two people need to be able to agree on their terms to do business and be able to do that relationship.
Yeah, along those lines, it was an interesting one. I think probably I'm doing this really interesting thing. It's like it's essentially neural programming, but like with a fancy brand and stuff, with this guy Rico, who's local here in Christchurch. It's fucking awesome. So we've gone through this big process of trying to figure out like what makes me react in a big way, because I actually am very flat, like generally speaking, and I think you're quite the same. As like I have small ups and downs where I get like a little bit frustrated at a topic that's relevant currently, but outside of that, like I'm quite steady.
I've never actually, now you say this, and we might be wrong, I've never seen you be angry.
Nah, I'm very flat.
And we have been in a lot of situations where anger would have been an appropriate emotion. We've got ourselves in some predicaments. But like,
I don't know what you're talking about.
But I don't think I've ever seen you angry.
Nah, the more stressed...
I've seen you be stern.
Yeah.
But I've never seen you be angry.
The more stressed I get, the more I call out I'm like what gets me.
I'm similar. I
Yeah.
calm.
Yeah.
When
What-
stuff's real bad, I
when
calm.
it's real bad, it's just like, I don't know what it is. It's like, and all I see is clarity. Like, it's
Yeah.
just all of a sudden, like, all the noise just stops making all of everything. And all of a sudden, I have a complete understanding of what's going on around me. What gets me, and this is what Rico's pointed out, is when people speak to me in a way where what I define as like my moral compass that I make all of my decisions based on isn't seen. So like one of my moral kind of codes internally is that I treat people with an enormous amount of respect and that I value them. So when someone talks to me in a way where they're making an assumption that that's not how I am, it causes a really big reaction in me, because I'm like, you don't see this. Like, you don't see the 25 people who I pay every fortnight. You don't see these things that I do that are so important. You don't see the way that I live. And so I think it just triggers that sort of
And I
thing.
get that completely, especially when you work really, really hard to do something and someone assumes you don't. And like, that's really hard.
Yeah, you make sacrifice and put yourself through pain in the name of doing that.
Yeah.
It's hard to maintain your goals. Do you need another?
Yeah, absolutely. I was about to say that will change in a couple of years, but I still arc up. When, and again, this is going to be put in stuff. Someone with a very left-wing view talks to me. Actually, left-wing might not be the right word. No, I think it is. Like someone leaning towards government control. Someone that leans towards very, very high government control, when they talk to me really rudely about my core beliefs when I haven't been rude to them, that arcs me.
Yeah.
That'll have a... So when I'm trying to be really good and decent and polite and talk through their beliefs and sort of talk through why I believe that my beliefs are closer to an objective truth of a better quality human life for people, and someone that believes in high government control and then is really rude to me about my opinion, that will arc me.
Typically, the thing that I find, and this is making a generalization, which I'm always conscious of doing because it's not usually the right way to treat deals like this.
Because people will talk about the end of the bell curve and get real angry at you in the comments for no reason. But
yeah, what I tend to find whenever I've wound up in conversations like that, where I try to always be like very flat, like calm with them, and I'm like,
decent.
okay, so this is why I believe what I believe, and I'm not expecting you to listen to me. This is just my perspective on it. As I find that people like that, as soon as they feel threatened, usually the path through is by leaning on you.
Yep.
Like that is and I think that often, and this is a generalization, and so I'm not suggesting this is the entirety of people who lean in like a more socialist sort of way, but generally speaking, they're acclimatized to, like, the way that their world works is if they aren't getting their way, they lean on people, and that's how they get their way, and so that tends to be reflected across different conversations they have.
They also believe that they are morally right, and so it's the whole. It's Machiavellian, right?
Yeah.
So it's if the end is good and just, for the people listening, I was doing air quotation marks. So Machiavellian, Niccolo Machiavelli, he wrote a book called The Prince, which you should read. It's a fantastic book. But his principle is, if the end is just and the end is right, any means is okay. Right? So it doesn't matter how you get there. So if your core belief is right and just, which is what they believe it is, I don't think anyone would have a belief if they didn't believe it was right or just. Anything to get there is fine, right? Where I believe the process is the way, the journey is the way. It's each step you take justifies the outcome, not the outcome itself.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree completely. That's probably deep enough into politics without getting us into much
We
trouble.
could get so...
I know.
How
the
good,
second
though.
pals is dangerous.
I know,
I was
I can
about to
feel it.
open up an Atlas Shrugged
I know,
conversation. I was like, no.
Because I've got a tiny bit too much weight on, so I haven't been eating, just trying to shred a bit of weight. And then the first one was like, wow, we're on here. Watch out.
Yeah, mine's just, I wouldn't have drunk in probably, maybe like 3 weeks, maybe 3 and a bit.
That one's lovely. That
Yeah. Shout out pals.
That's a guava.
Yeah.
That says guava, eh? I have to send a picture to my crew. They told me on the boat that no guava pow exists.
Yeah,
And we had a
guava.
huge argument over it. And I was like, there is. And they're like, we've searched the Pow's website and there's no guava one. And I thought I was going mad. And now here I am sipping a pink guava Pow's.
Yeah,
That's,
just like that.
I even went and checked the fridge and I couldn't find a guava one. Yeah. But I'm right. Take that, WW crew. There is a guava Pow's and it's this colour.
Kind of like a tanny sort of colour.
Yeah.
Hey, so what's, obviously we've got JVs and things like that going on. What's the plan for 2025?
I'm going to do 9 more months of really decent, stable, boring management. You'll see videos of me just talking about the economy, talking about Williams Corporation, being calm, clean shaven. I should have a jacket on. Diligent, decent manager. We're going to slowly increase our sales, slowly increase our capital base, capture more of the value chain with our JVs, have reoccurring revenue from these service businesses, stable, strong property empire, and then we will hit a point where I want to go back to Australia because that would be cool. But I'm not there yet.
Yeah.
It's just all my investors want from me is to just be the diligent. If someone's buying a first home from us, we're here every day. We'll build the house. We'll do it right by you. The quality will be there. If you call our phone, we'll do the maintenance. Mm-hmm. We're doing the property. It's a little bit. I do miss the on the horse charging for infinity, charging for greatness. But we have so many people's livelihood managed at Williams Corporation, whether that be your home or your investment property or your money in our fund or you're a large family office that we manage tens of millions for. All they want from me is just be the diligent manager. And I get a bit of a sugar hit from our JVs. I actually quite like sitting there playing around with how do we increase the occupancy on these properties that we've managed for? I get enough creative and I get to buy 1 or 2 projects a month, either 2 blocks of 20 or a block of 40, which I like the creativity of designing. I like the I like that we've put some of our best soldiers into businesses and that stuff. That's cool. It's not quite running at the pace because I love pace. Like when Williams Corp was going for infinity, it was just the greatest thing.
That was like, I have etched into my brain memories of like that Nerf gun in your office up top and like you had your meeting rooms converted into like the accounting department and then there's like the
2
only
people
room
to a desk.
Yeah, the only room that was left was the boardroom and you're pretty much at the point where you're going to start housing people in there too. Like just that ruthless growth through that period was that was a very fun time.
Sorry, I have to send a photo of the crew of us because they're just wrong. And yeah, it was so fun.
It was
we had
fun.
So much fun.
Yeah. Hey,
But it was because we didn't know any better and we were just charging for greatness.
Yeah.
And none of us had done it before. It wasn't real. Like it was absurd.
Yeah.
I remember the time that we had worked out the algorithm for like how many leads create how many sales and we watched it every single month and we wrote it from spending 50 grand a year up to 4 million a year.
4.8.
Wild.
Yeah.
Every person in New Zealand would see a Williams Corporation ad twice a week.
Yeah.
Wild.
Yeah. It was it was probably the first 12 months of that.
That was the
run
fun.
Were
'Cause
just
it was so
absurd.
new.
And like no one was, this came up in the same meeting today actually, no one sold houses on Facebook. That was a dumb idea. Yeah. Like it wasn't that it wasn't a good idea, it was a genuinely stupid idea.
We were ridiculed for it.
Yeah.
Well, you were there.
Yeah. And like that in 12 months went from that to probably us having an inquiry from every developer in Christchurch.
Yeah.
Like it flipped on its head.
Yeah.
We got... And
So
this,
the other developers that aren't in Christchurch, you should have called them as well. Oh, my God. Get it together.
This segues nicely into a conversation I wanted to have speaking about. So we do a fair bit of work in property and we've been caught a couple of times over the last 12 months. I won't say numbers or anything like that, but where do you see, like, let's say you own a business right now and you're hurting, because this is what I'm sort of segueing into, is we've had a number of companies that we deal with liquidate. We've had a number of companies do things like that. And obviously, as a director of a company, I can only imagine the level of challenge that you would go through making a call like that and how hard it is. Me and you have both got a little bit of a mentality where I think that we'd both be barricaded into our offices with, like we would do everything we possibly could. Yeah, we would give up all personal wealth, all everything, in the name of trying to pursue the mission. But what advice would you give to someone if they are in that spot where things are tough, and like it's been tough for a minute? And you're someone who's experienced it. Like you said, you had a near $1 billion market position and the market dropped by, call it 15%. That's $150 million. Like that's a serious...
Would have been nice to retain.
Yeah, like that's a cell phone number. Like that's not, you know what I mean? Like that's not... And so what is the message that you would...
I truly believe if you come to work every day, you work as hard as you can, you're honest, you're decent, you answer your phone, you tell the truth, you're passionate about your company, your brand, your product, you innovate, trying to find opportunities to add to your revenue source and to make your position better, and you do everything you can to be operationally excellent, you can take any business out of any hole.
Yeah.
If you truly try, like if you truly do your best, you can do it. But you have to arrive first, finish last. You have to always answer your phone. You have to tell the truth. You can pull out of anything. You are possible. But you also need to have that warrior mentality. You need to be honest with yourself. So you need to have the discussion. Okay, I made me. And it's easier when it's your fault, right? I made this, and this decision. That has put me in this situation. For me to deal with this situation, I need to do this, and this. Now, I have my best chance of winning if I'm here first, leave last. How do I get my staff motivated? Just work twice as long. Be there before them, leave after them. Like, do all of the things where you can truly go to bed and say, there was nothing more I could have done. I just did everything I can. And every day you go through and you're like, how do I not only do my work, but how do I get 1% better? Where's the increase in innovation? Where's the incremental gain that I can stack where I'm better today than I was yesterday? And you've got to put on a warrior hat. You've got to say, this is hard. This is a battle. But I built this. I got myself in this situation, and I am going to get out of it. And the buck stops with me, and I can do it. I think it's impossible for you to lose. And someone in the comments will be like, oh, this one guy did everything he could, and he did. I think anyone can get out of anything.
Like, I remember, and I've told the story in a couple of other episodes kind of loosely, but we did a real hard year of trading after we went to the Auckland office.
I need to apologise to my crew. I was talking about a lychee one, and it's guava. But the guava tastes just like lychee. Sorry. I'm running a different side quest in my mind.
Thanks, guys. Now, you're going to send them a message?
Yeah,
and be
I'm going
like,
to send them a message.
I just might have gone off on something that you didn't actually correctly do wrong.
This is the one I was talking about. Sorry, Karen, there was super rude, but yeah.
That's funny. So what, essentially what I was saying is, so we did this really tough year of trading, and it was after we launched our Auckland office. We didn't really have a properly established senior leadership team in Christchurch.
Yeah.
Christchurch comes back. Auckland doesn't go very well. I'm 50-50 in each. You kind of need 100. Like, it's hard to grow something with 100 in, so you've got to, that then leads to 2022 being just awful. 12 months of just hell, just like paying to go to work and like just miserable. I sold a property, banked a whole bunch of cash, put it in my company's checking account, empty the checking
Ripped it.
account. Like, just like real
good.
stuff that you look back on fondly.
Yeah.
At the time, not that fun, right? And so we go through this thing, and then just as I feel like I'm in the clear, I'm like, I think we've found our footing. I get contacted by my accountant, and he's like, you owe $238,000 in tax or whatever. Like, enough where I was like, fuck. And we're probably, I don't know. We don't have it. It's the short, you know what I mean? Like getting through the grind that we're in, we don't really have much. Like, resources are fucking depleted, and it's kind of like month on month, just sort of, you know, like I'm tipping cash in to make payrolls, all sorts of stuff. Like, it's not good. So we get this, and I remember going home, and I actually have the video somewhere on my phone. I was like, right, okay, you're making a decision right now that nothing's going to stop you anyway. So what you're going to do is you're going to document exactly how you feel right now, and then you're going to look back on this at some point in time. I've never done it for reference, but you're going to look back on this at some point in time, and you're going to laugh about how you didn't think there was a way through, but there was, and you found it. And so I have this video somewhere on my phone, deep dark into the archives, of me being like, right, this is the position that I'm in right now.
Yeah.
This, like, I might have had like $3,000 in my company checking account, and like $2,000 here in like an ad spend account, because Google could bill us 2 times overnight, and then like clients' ads start getting turned off. Like, we're fucked, kind of thing. And I've just received this bill from the ID for $238,000, and I got payroll next Tuesday, and it's $35,000, and like, I just don't know what the answer is. But I'm just documenting this moment, so that I know that I could figure out a situation like this, and this is just a reminder that I have of this. And so then I'd actually told myself I was going to buy an Audi R8 when I cleared the tax bill. That was the deal I made with myself. I never bought the R8 because it didn't seem appropriate with a baby on the way when I cleared the tax bill. I want something that I can do with him, so I bought my 911 instead. But I have this Blazer inside, and that was what I actually bought. I went and bought it the day after I paid the tax bill. I paid the last amount. And it has embroidered on the inside the total amount of money that I owed the ID. It's like 238,912.68 or something like that. That just sits on the inside of the jacket pocket all the time. So that's my little thing.
That's cool.
I think there's something in that for people who are feeling this. Like, I created my own recession by thinking that I could do fucking anything that I wanted to, because I'd grown to a point where it seemed like if you double a business every year for 4 years in a row, try telling that person they can't expand it further. You're like, you don't fucking know. I can keep doubling in perpetuity for as long as I want.
When we went from $1 million to 350 million in 5 years, it's a miracle I wasn't more dumb.
Yeah.
We thought we were God's gift to capitalism. Bleer less so than me. I was more of a problem. But I reckon I was actually pretty modest. The white Rolls Royce was modest.
You didn't buy it brand new.
You didn't buy it. Hey, exactly. I think I actually might have made money on it, or didn't lose money, something like that.
The funny thing about it was that most of the cars you jumped in kind of when everyone was buying cars, and you jumped out kind of right around that. Like, it sort of slowed a bit, but it was all good.
I was pretty close.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, it wouldn't have been too expensive. Hey,
but everyone can find out. I think the
and that's
summary.
my message as well.
That's the summary.
Bite down. That's the game.
Bite down.
Yeah.
Just eat it. Just believe in yourself.
Yeah.
Right? Believe in yourself. Do it. It's pretty cheesy, but it's true.
It's true. It's true. And like, it's okay to believe in yourself but not know how. Yeah. That's the other thing. It's like that's I suppose where I was tying that video, and kind of is like,
also, if there's a lychee pals, just let me know, because apparently there's not. I think it's a guava pals. I still have a sneaking suspicion there's a lychee one.
There's a few.
And if there isn't pals, you should make a lychee pals, because that would be good.
Hey, we've been going about an hour. Is there anything in particular you want to touch on?
No, I think it was good. I think it's dangerous. The second power is dangerous.
Yeah, I'm like, cut the line. There was nothing inappropriate there, I don't think. And went on.
I think we were pretty close. I think anyone that watched this podcast in their entirety would see two people doing their best, well-meaning, decent. And if they don't, well, this is me. So
yeah, and also genuine care for everyone.
True, always
genuine care.
And genuine care to do the right thing.
Yeah. Cool.
Let's wrap it up.
If you've listened this far, thank you for listening this far. Make sure you follow us on all platforms, Spotify, Instagram, all that sort of stuff. And yeah, like I said, thank you for listening to us waffle on for just over an hour. I appreciate all of you. I'll catch you on the next one. Thanks again, Matt.
Next one's 3 hours. Starting in 10 minutes' time. It's going to be a disaster.
Thank you, everyone. See you later.